Chicago, the 1920s, a city pulsing with jazz, money, corruption, and opportunity. In the shadows of speakeasies and behind smoke-filled backrooms, one man rose to symbolize an entire era of organized crime. His name was Al Capone. But behind the myths, behind the headlines, lay a story shaped by poverty, politics, fear, and the desperate hunt for the American dream. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born in 1899 in Brooklyn, New York, the son of Italian immigrants who worked ordinary jobs and hoped for a better future. Young Al was intelligent, street-smart, and charismatic, but easily drawn into the rough neighborhoods around him. By his early teens, he dropped out of school after hitting a teacher. Soon, he became connected to local street gangs, organizations that offered money, belonging, and the kind of power a young immigrant boy rarely tasted. One incident changed his life forever. A violent confrontation left him with the scars that earned him the nickname Scarface. These scars would later become a symbol that Capone worked hard to hide, embarrassed by what they represented. In 1919, Capone moved to Chicago, where prohibition, the nationwide ban on alcohol, was about to create a massive illegal economy. Here, he joined forces with crime boss Johnny Torrio, a man who recognized Capone's talent for organization, charm, and, when necessary, intimidation. Chicago in the 1920s was a battleground. Rival gangs fought over bootlegging routes, gambling dens, and protection rackets. Capone climbed the ranks not just with violence, but by building networks. Politicians, police officers, and business owners, many willing to look the other way for a price. In 1925, Torrio retired after an assassination attempt, leaving a 26-year-old Al Capone in charge of one of Chicago's most powerful crime operations. Capone ruled from the city's luxurious Lexington Hotel, becoming a paradoxical figure, brutal in business, yet charitable in public. He was feared by rivals, yet adored by many ordinary citizens who saw him as a kind of urban Robin Hood. Newspapers couldn't get enough of him. Capone embraced the limelight, wearing flashy suits, attending baseball games, and openly speaking with reporters. But his fame came with consequences. The more he appeared in public, the bigger a target he became for law enforcement. Beneath the glamour, Capone's empire depended on ruthless enforcement. Territorial disputes with rival gangs escalated into bombings, shootouts, and citywide tension. The most notorious incident came on February 14, 1929, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. 7 members of a rival gang were lined up and gunned down in a Chicago garage. Capone was in Florida at the time, and no evidence directly linked him to the killings. But the public didn't care. This event shattered Capone's public image and marked the beginning of his downfall. By the late 1920s, federal authorities were desperate to take Capone down. But they couldn't pin violent crimes on him. Witnesses disappeared, jurors were intimidated, and police were often compromised. So the government tried a different angle: tax evasion. After years of investigation led by Treasury agent Elliot Ness and other federal teams, Capone was finally indicted. The trial was dramatic, tense, and heavily guarded. In 1931, Al Capone was convicted on federal tax charges and sentenced to 11 years in prison. He served time in several facilities, including the infamous island prison, Alcatraz. Prison broke Capone in ways the streets of Chicago never had. Years of untreated syphilis led to neurological damage. He became confused, fragile, a shadow of the man who once controlled the city. Released in 1939 due to his rapidly declining health, Capone returned to Florida, where he lived quietly with his family. On January 25, 1947, the man once synonymous with power died at age 48. Al Capone's legacy is complicated, shaped by myth, fear, and Hollywood imagination. But behind the legend was a story about America during one of its most turbulent eras. A time when corruption opened doors, when poverty bred opportunity, and when a young immigrant son rose to power in ways that shook a nation. This is the true story of Al Capone. Not a hero, not a villain, but a product of the world that created him. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.